Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and welcome to Wednesday's, yes, Wednesday's edition of the Doctor Who Daily. These are the facts. The facts are these about the original Russell T Davies 5 years of his Doctor Who revival. A revival he implemented, devised and created himself. Record-breaking ratings, a multitude of awards every single season. From the moment that he left, Doctor Who's ratings slowly collapsed and the awards just went away. It wasn't what it was before. Now that doesn't mean I don't like the Steven Moffat era, and if you do, that's totally valid, of course. We always talk about, you know, validity, that my loves and my hates are not your loves and your hates. Everyone has their own truth. But under Russell T Davies, he wasn't on Twitter while the show was active, while he was working on it. There was no silly, childish little spats with fans on social media, something that Moffat got involved with quite a lot. You see, Moffat's era was so divisive, the most stupid thing to do is be active on social media. And other people have learnt their lesson. There's no way Chris Chibnall at the moment could be on social media. I don't think he has ever been on social media. Now, Jodie Whittaker used to be on social media, and they told her to come off of it for her own safety, you know, her own mental health. You know, at the end of the day, people are very toxic, and I think that's right. I think eventually she'll come back, because I do know that Jodie loves being active on social media, but these people have always got bot accounts and they're always watching what people are saying anyway. Don't think because you don't officially see them, they're not there. But anyway, they're the truths about the Russell T Davies era. Unfortunately, you know, once he left, we went down and down and down and down in every single way, and it's a shame. Now, season 5 of Doctor Who, Steven Moffat's first season, is outstanding. I think most of season 6 is outstanding. But then slowly but surely, it got a little bit more uninteresting and mediocre. Now, mediocre Doctor Who is still better than most television shows around today. But still, the standards under RTD were up here, and those standards were falling. Now, in terms of production values, Doctor Who, the revival of Doctor Who, has always been fantastic. But it's about the story, it's about the characters, it's the way you portray the characters. It's very interesting. Now there's this debate online whether Russell T Davies is woke or not. Well, I will tell you, I don't like that word, by the way, because I think woke used to be kind of a good term, and it's been turned into a derogative term. I don't like that, and I don't like using that word because it's a word that basic people use, because there's a nuance in explaining what woke means, and it doesn't really mean anymore what it originally meant. But in these terms, is Russell T Davies woke? Listen, he's not a conservative. He's on the left side of the political argument. I'm not sure if he's a socialist or a Labourite or a liberal. I don't know who he votes for, if anyone, and I don't think that's important. We're trying to have this discussion what kind of Doctor Who he's going to do when he takes control and Bad Wolf Productions take control. Well, let me give you a clue. You don't need the clue, you just have to see it in his Doctor Who work. Both of his doctors, Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant, were both alpha males. They were take charge, take control kind of doctors. Now, I wouldn't call Matt Smith a take control kind of a doctor. Now, Peter Capaldi was a lot more of an alpha male, but I don't even think his doctor was as much as an alpha male. I mean, the biggest alpha male in Doctor Who revival history has to be Christopher Eccleston. But David Tennant was just as alpha male, and that's the way it was played. So, if you're asking, is he as extreme left as Chris Chibnall? No, he's not. But we've also got to understand, when Russell T Davies was making Doctor Who, the pressure wasn't to be so woke. Again, I hate that term. I'm using it as a term because people understand it. So he probably is going to have to do some things that maybe he doesn't particularly want to do. Maybe we don't want him to do them, but he will do them. But he will do them in his nuanced way. He's so clever. So any kind of challenging situation, he can just wave his magic wand. He's that good, he's that smart, he's that clever. And so I don't see it as a problem. But no, when I look at his Doctor Who, and it's all there, there's lots of inclusion and representation in the Russell T Davies era of Doctor Who, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's done so well, and no social commentary on his era of Doctor Who it never seemed like lecture. It seemed like they used to do it in the old days, where they used to tread carefully, where social commentary was used as nuance. There's loads of examples in the RTD era of Doctor Who of social commentary being spouted, but it's done in such an entertaining fashion. I go back to John Barrowman's Captain Jack Harkness and Christopher Eccleston's Ninth Doctor kissing on the lips in The Parting of the Ways. I don't think there's anyone, even the biggest homophobe in the world, who doesn't sit there and go, wow, what a beautiful moment. Because I did. And I was brought up by people who would never agree with that. But in the end, what I like, television and film can be educational. It can change you in good ways when things are done properly. But these days, things ain't done in a nuanced way. They're done in an angry way. They attack people instead of trying to educate them. The Russell T Davies era tried to educate people instead of blaming them. Because we are all fallible as human beings, but we're all victims of our upbringings and what's hammered into us as children. Because children, the brain of a child is like a sponge. It soaks in everything. And hatred and hateful thoughts and, toxicity are no different. When you're a child, you soak all that shit in. So parents shouldn't, be spouting their hatreds and misconceptions about other groups of people in front of their children. But sadly, it's easily done, and it happens. So Russell T Davies, in terms of Russell T Davies being woke, I think he can be, but I think there's two levels of woke. There's the good, educational woke, and there's the hateful, antagonistic, extremist woke, which you don't want in any form of entertainment or any industry. Unfortunately, that's where we are today. So I'm not worried about that situation with Russell T Davies. But when you look at his era of Doctor Who, it was so successful. Russell T Davies isn't just a clever showrunner and writer. He ran a tight ship. Apart from the incident which led to Christopher Eccleston being blacklisted from the BBC, and I explained that a few episodes ago, why that happened, mostly he ran a tight ship, a good ship, a happy ship, and people were happy to work on the show. A bit like the big shows right now, shows like The Simpsons and Family Guy, everyone, lots of famous people were queuing up to be in Russell T Davies' Doctor Who. It was a kind of a rite of passage to be someone famous who guest stars on Doctor Who, and we had that even in the Moffat era as well, and it's been great. And so I think that he will run the same tight ship again. And in terms of Russell T Davies running Doctor Who, I don't have any issues. It doesn't matter who he casts, what dynamic he casts, what colour that person is, what gender they are, whatever, it won't really matter. Because if Russell T Davies has cast you as the Doctor, it's because you deserve to be the Doctor and no other reason. So I trust him implicitly. The two producers he's brought with him, Jane Tranter and Julia Gardner, are two of the best producers in the business. Again, we have nothing to worry about. So they do come from a different mentality and a different generation, but I will pre-warn you, they will have to play ball a little bit with the new regime we have now, the new mentality we have out there, especially entertainment. I think it's about striking a balance, and I think Russell T Davies, the R2-D2 era of Doctor Who, will certainly try and balance it, but not hurt the show by balancing it out. I think something needed to happen to Doctor Who, because since RTD left, the BBC have done a pretty piss poor job of Doctor Who. But even though the RTD era is the far superior era in terms of, success, the ratings and the awards and all of that, I'm really proud of the revival, all of it, even the Chibnall era. I'm very proud of it. We've only had 3 showrunners in 16 years. That's magnificent. So that shows how good the show's been in terms of quality and the way it's made. And and this is another rarity in television, all 3 showrunners are Doctor Who fans. That's very, very rare as well. And so, yes, I am very excited, but I'm also, I must say, very proud of the revival made by fans with love and care. And you know what? Even if you don't agree with Chris Chibnall's way of making Doctor Who, he has the right to tell his story even if we don't like what he's doing. He's a creative, he was put in that position, and it's a high pressure job being the person who makes the decisions creatively for Doctor Who. And you live and die by your own sword. And that's all forms of storytelling. If you're a Manchester United manager, you know, you live and die by your decisions, because Manchester United is an iconic, successful football club. Doctor Who is an iconic, long-running television show, so there's lots of pressure. His vision in season 11 was to embrace the classic series of Doctor Who. I think he did that in small ways, and season 12 was to expand on this timeless child arc, which he did. And we were all guessing what it all meant, and what Jo Martin's Doctor meant, and who is she and where she's from. Season 12 excited us to a point, whether we like it or not, and that came from the arc. Now, a lot of people don't like long-running arc storytelling in series of Doctor Who. I do. I think it makes things more interesting. I think the last thing I want is a Doctor Who series that doesn't go anywhere, just tells standalone stories. Now, season 13 of Doctor Who is quite interesting if you look at it, because we're basically getting 6 episodes, but they're all about, it's a continuing story. That's like the old days, isn't it? When we used to have 3 or 4 parters, but they were 20 minutes, half an hour long. But so that's kind of interesting as well, that he's doing this. That's kind of groundbreaking for Doctor Who. 6 episodes continuing the same strand. Is that going to work? That's going to be very, very exciting, and how that happens. Now, we've got a couple of brand new companions. I would say more part-time companions. I think Yaz and the Doctor are the main members of this year's TARDIS team. But yeah, I think that this season will please a lot more people than 11 and 12 did. Just things that I'm hearing, you know, from echoes and stuff like that. Let's just put it that way. I think there will be a lot more people pleasing, but Chris Chibnall will do what Chris Chibnall wants, and he has a timeless child arc to wrap up. And wrap up is what he must do, because, as I've said in previous videos, nobody is going to want to deal with the timeless children. No one. It's not their story. It complicates things. Now, I suppose in a way you can just ignore it. It's happened, it's done, the Doctor has a new backstory, but the problem is, it's a backstory you can't leave alone. It's there now. The beauty of Doctor Who in the past was, we didn't really know his backstory. You know, the Doctor was on Gallifrey, he left with Susan, he wanted to explore, he didn't just want to observe the universe, he wanted to explore it and take part in the universe. And that was the levels of his backstory. We met the Time Lords in the classic series, he's had interactions, he's been on the run from the Time Lords, but we never really understood his past completely. And most Doctor Who fans like that. What the Timeless Children also does, including Break Canon, it explores the Doctor's origins. It gives you answers to questions no one was asking. And I think that's the problem with it. Now, again, I like origins, and I like looking into the origins of characters, so I'm not offended by this, but I would say that most of the fandom, the hardcore fandom, never wanted the origins of the Doctor explored, and now we're going to explore them. There's no avoiding that. This is part of it. We've got 6 episodes beginning in, I think, maybe end of October or something, and then we've got a bunch of specials to finish Jodie's and Chris's era. I'm very interested what they do. Will Yaz still be part of that TARDIS team when we get to the Doctor's final few episodes, the specials? Now, in the Russell T Davies era, there was no companions in the Planet of the Dead, in the Waters of Mars, one of the finest things Russell T Davies has ever written. And I think because there was no companion in that episode, it was even better. and then the Timeless, the End of Time Part 1 and 2. No companion. I mean, Wilfred was kind of the companion, but there was no official companion. You know, after the end of season 4, it really was about embracing the Doctor and what happens when the Doctor doesn't travel with anyone, which I like. You see, I like the companion concept, but I don't live and die by it. I don't think if there's no companion, there's no Doctor Who, because, you know, the Doctor can travel from place to place and meet different people now and again, pick up a few people, drop them off again. I like what they've done with the companions. I like what RTD did. I mostly like what Moffat did as well. Unfortunately, Chris has failed with many things, and the companions has been something else. The companions were given no story, no interest, no character development, and that's a shame. Even when he gave Ryan dyspraxia, he didn't follow it through. At the beginning he did, and near the end he mentioned it again, but he didn't want to deal with the nuances of dyspraxia and what it's really like dealing with that. And he made Ryan's dyspraxia look like no big deal, honestly. And at the beginning it looked okay when he was challenged to riding a bike and he couldn't do it and he chucked it over the hill or whatever that was in the first episode, the woman who fell to earth. And that's great, but he didn't follow it through. And showrunners who don't follow arcs and kind of nuances and narratives through end up in trouble. One thing I know about RTD, he follows everything through. We started with a really angry Doctor, you know, a Doctor who was, who was made in war. You know, he originates as the War Doctor. We don't know that past at that time. Then he becomes Tennant. He becomes the 10th Doctor. Rose helps him become better. Then so we get this whole arc. So Davies' arc was always a Doctor from war, forged from war, which made him bitter at times, twisted. Look what he did to Harriet Jones. So RTD always kind of followed the whole thing through. He had a vision for the Doctor, a Doctor forged in war, you know, who was angry and bitter, who killed his own people and the Daleks, and he doesn't feel good about that because he had no choice. And so by the end, you've got a Doctor saying, I don't want to go. Now, of course, there's a double meaning here. It's Russell saying he doesn't want to go. It's David saying he doesn't want to go. But also, this is a very vain Doctor. Again, forged, you know, he still has the memories of being forged in war. He's very arrogant. He doesn't want to start again. He doesn't want to start learning how to be a person again and getting his memories back. He didn't want to do that. He so liked being the 10th Doctor, he didn't want to change. When people were saying, why would you say I don't want to go? It doesn't make sense. It actually does. That Doctor really, really loves himself. And he doesn't want to be anyone else. He becomes far too arrogant by the end of 10's run. And that's one of the reasons he really should regenerate, and he does. And then he becomes a more humble man in the 11th Doctor. And I do think that Matt's Doctor is excellent, by the way. But he's a more humbler Doctor. He's a uni student Doctor. He's a lot more fun-loving, maybe less selfish and a lot kinder. Look at what 10 did, you know, with Martha, when Martha had the crush on him. So the Doctor isn't always a flawless, good person. You know, the 10th Doctor's and the 9th Doctor's hearts were in the right place, but, you know, their morals were a bit twisted. Now, I like that because it makes them more interesting, but Matt's Doctor wasn't uninteresting, and he could get angry and dubious at times and make, you know, not necessarily bad decisions, more like immoral decisions. So I like that as well. Matt Smith should have stayed for longer. He wanted to beat Tom Baker's record. I don't know what happened there. And there are rumours that Matt Smith will return as the Doctor. I don't know. I would love it. And this kind of thing, as I was discussing this multiverse strategy that I believe Russell T Davies has for Doctor Who, you can do anything. You can bring anyone back, and that's exciting as long as they're living. And so it just gives the show bigger potential. So I think if you're a Doctor Who fan, especially if you're a fan of the RTD era, but, you know, didn't watch the show as a kid, didn't watch the classic era, which is okay. Let me give you the difference between the RTD era, the Moffat era, and the Chibnall era. In the RTD era, there was two sets of fans, the classic fans and the New Who fans. Now, there was always these heated debates, but it wasn't so toxic, it wasn't so divisive. We all had our opinions. Oh, the classic era is better. No, the RTD era is better. New Who's better. that was the end of the conversation. But when we got to the Moffat era and the Chibnall era, it got so much more ugly between the Doctor Who fandom. I remember years and years ago being threatened on Facebook via the inbox just for having a constructive opinion. I mean, it didn't bother me, but it's a shame, because back then I was so obsessed, because I loved the RTD era so much, and I was always in these chat rooms and stuff, but they always got so volatile after RTD left. RTD had a way to keep us all in check, and it's not like he was on social media or anything, because what he was giving us was so good. So I think even if you're a classic Who fan, you can appreciate what RTD did. And I think once we got to the other eras, because if those showrunners are a bit too arrogant and can be overly toxic at times, I think then the fandom becomes more divisive and toxic as well. And I think, as you can see from the announcement, there's a lot less anger about Doctor Who now. Now we know he's coming back, because whatever decisions he makes, we know he'll make them for the good of the show. And as I say, there's a political element here which he has to balance, and he has to make those decisions too. But no one he brings on to work on Doctor Who will not deserve it. They will. He will cast absolutely the right people, because what you've got to understand about Russell T Davies, unlike Chibnall and Moffat, he has the respect of the industry. Everyone loves RTD. Everyone wants to work with RTD. Well, apart from Christopher Eccleston. And that's something else I've said many times on my videos. Russell is the only one who can go back to, really go back to Chris. And, you know, I don't know if he has to apologise, but they both should sit down like grown men and sort this out. And if not for themselves, for the show, for the fans, because this is something that hangs over the RTD era as well. So I think it's something he really needs to look at, Russell. Personally, if it was me, no matter what went down, and obviously it was pretty bad because they haven't spoken for years. And the ironic thing is, Christopher Eccleston publicly stated when he joined Doctor Who, he only joined because Russell T Davies was writing it. So how ironic that they fell out and now they're not talking. It's very, very sad, because the team running it now, they're the people that Christopher Eccleston fell out with. So I do feel that there needs to be a conversation, because I always say, you know, nothing really happened there that can't be forgiven by both sides. Clearly, Chris is still very, very hurt. But if Russell could go to Chris, and we could actually have Chris in the 60th anniversary, I think people, the fans, me included, would be even more pleased with Russell. Because these are things that, you know, we're always told by the entertainment industry not to be toxic, to be constructive with our conversations, and they tell us to be careful what we say because words wound, and I agree. But you've got to practice what you preach. It's all right talking about compassion and kindness, but it's time that you guys buried the hatchet and hopefully not in each other's backs, because I absolutely know that Peter Capaldi's chomping at the bit to return for the 60th. I know that Matt Smith is the same, and the other people, you know, we've had obviously Eccleston, who at this moment in time would never be involved with the 60th. He's said so already. He said a lot of interesting things on Instagram to fans, actually, very interesting. And it doesn't seem like he's a big fan of John Barrowman either. I'm not even going to say, just in case I've got to get it wrong, because these things can be misunderstood sometimes, but I don't think he's a big fan of John Barrowman either, which is interesting. So it will be unlikely that Christopher Eccleston will join the 60th, but funnier things have happened. Did you ever think John Hurt would play a brand new version, a mystery version of the Doctor called the War Doctor? Did you ever think that it wasn't Paul McGann who fought in the Time War? No. So these things, look, what I say about show business is never say that nothing can never happen, because show business is an interesting thing. Anyone can be persuaded to do anything at any time. I was shocked that Michael Shannon played General Zod in Man of Steel. I was shocked that John Sim played the Master. You know, Derek Jacobi playing a version of the Master. So Derek Jacobi, is he a Sir? But I mean, that guy's royalty. You know, so for RTD to get him, that was sensational. I mean, he would have been a great Doctor in his day in the classic series. So you must never make assumptions. I hope and pray that all the current Doctors and maybe previous Doctors that are still alive. People like Peter Davison, Colin Baker, maybe Tom Baker. That may be asking because of his, maybe asking too much because of his age, but you never know. So yeah, I'm very excited about the 60th, but don't forget we've got a long wait yet. That's not till 2023, but we can get hyped for it. But there's also a brand new season of Doctor Who, and as I said earlier, there's a Timeless Children arc to wrap up. The Timeless Child arc always kind of intrigued me when we first heard it mentioned once in season 1, and I can't remember when it was mentioned because I always get the episode wrong. But that always kind of made me think, we all kind of assume, the Timeless Child, it's a nickname because she travels through time. But it wasn't. There was a lot more to it than that. And I think we all have our theories, and a lot of people are upset by it. But and you know, you can receipt me on this. You can keep this video and rub it in my face when I'm proven wrong. I don't believe the Doctor is really the Timeless Child. I don't think the Doctor was ever the Timeless Child. So who is? There are some fan theories out there that Yaz is actually the Timeless Child. I think that could be. I'm not going to say spot on, but that could be. You know, Jo Martin's Doctor could be the Timeless Child. Because I don't know who she is. We've got theories that she comes after Troughton and before Pertwee. That could be wrong as well. But anyone could still be the Timeless Child. It actually could be Sacha Dhawan's Master. As I said many times, Sacha Dhawan's Master could have, you know, corrupted the Matrix to make it look like the Doctor is the Master. Because what did we see? We never saw any evidence, really, that the Doctor is actually the Timeless Child. We saw the Timeless Child, we saw Tek Tayoun doing her thing, but we never really saw much connection to the Timeless Child and the Doctor kind of visually on screen. And I think that's interesting. And where Jo Martin's involved, after the episode, Chris came out and said she's definitely a Doctor. It's not a trick, it's not this, she's not from another Earth in the multiverse or another universe, she is the Doctor. He never did that after the Timeless Child. And this gives me more, I suppose, hope for the fandom, because I'm not that triggered by it, that actually, you know, Jodie's Doctor, the Doctor, our Doctor, isn't the Timeless Child. I think Yaz being the Timeless Child would be excellent, because it would give that companion such a great arc, if you think about it, because she hasn't really been dealt very well. I think Yaz, the actor who plays Yaz, has done a good job and she's tried her best. But none of the companions have been given anything. So it'd be great once we re-watch the whole Jodie and Chris era, if she, Yaz, is the Timeless Child, it would be a great arc for a companion. Considering it's kind of similar to what Russell did with Rose in the first season, making her Bad Wolf. No one saw that coming. So if I was to say who actually the Timeless Child is, I'm going to put it down to two people right now. Either Yaz or the Master. But could Yaz actually be the Master? That's a bit complicated. That's a complicated theory. I'll have to do it in another video. Yeah, the Master and Yaz could actually be the same person. It's a theory I'm working on. I know it sounds nuts and it sounds stupid, or there could be a connection to Yaz and the Master. So look, I think that Chibnall is a great storyteller and he will end this arc in a really good way. But I can promise you that Chris Chibnall is a Doctor Who fan and he's not really going to do this. He's going to make you think he's willing to do this and break canon. And clearly Moffat and RTD, who said it's okay to break canon, know that he's actually not going to break canon. So I think the Timeless Child is either Yaz or the Master. I'm actually excited. The more I think about season 13, the more excited I get for it. And now I know RTD's coming back, that sigh of relief where I can just enjoy series 13. I mean, I never embrace a new Doctor to their final season. So this is why I'm quite excited. I never embraced Tennant as the Doctor until the final season. Actually, I never embraced him as the Doctor until the last of the Time Lords, when he's that kind of Yodery kind of thing, what the Master reduces him by his age limit, right? And when he rises up and everyone's saying Doctor, that's when I finally embrace David Tennant as my Doctor, because I was so in love with Chris Eccleston's Doctor. I always liked Tennant's Doctor, but actually embracing him as the Doctor. Same as Matt. It took me to the snowman, the snowman. Why I always do that? The snowman. I can't even talk today. To embrace his doctor, because Amy and Rory weren't there, as I've explained before, and it just made me focus on him a lot more, and I thought he was wonderful in that episode, and he got even better and better. I never really got into Peter Capaldi's doctor. I didn't hate his doctor. He just never felt like my doctor. And you know, I respect Capaldi. I think he's a lovely guy. He's a big Doctor Who fan. I'm glad he played the Doctor. And this is, again, this is not your truth. This is my truth. I just never got into him, and that's a shame, because I love Peter Capaldi. He's so talented. I enjoyed watching him as the Doctor. I just never got into him. It's a bit hard to explain. This has been the Doctor Who Daily. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives, or whatever way you swing. I will see you again tomorrow for even more Doctor Who Daily. Until then, goodbye.